Good afternoon. Welcome to Mentorship Programs, how to elevate, encourage, engage, and empower your employees with Jessica Mobbs. I'm Sharice Pidcock with Results Washington. My pronouns are she, her, and I will be your moderator today. We have about 870 attendees registered for the session, and we're happy you're here. I am joined today by Emily Dahl, who is providing ASL interpretation. And thank you to my team member, Elisa Julius, who is managing technology behind the scenes. A few housekeeping things. We know many of you are familiar with Zoom meetings, but there are some differences in Zoom webinar that we're using today. The biggest difference is you won't be able to talk or have your video visible. This ensures all participants can focus on today's presentation. We want to draw your attention to a few different features in Zoom and how we'll use them. If you move your mouse, the toolbar will appear, and you can see the icons from the chat and the Q&A. Chat is available for this exercise, and this is a public record, so we will not be monitoring it, so please be aware of that. Feel free to pop questions in the Q&A feature. We won't be able to respond to all questions, depending on how many we get, but we will try to do our best to provide some answers. If we are having technical issues, we will use the Q&A feature, and you'll do your best to regroup, and we'll do our best to reach out to you and connect to help you through those. Next, you'll notice the feature for closed captioning. If you wish to see closed captioning, you can click on that icon to turn it on or off. You can adjust your view to make the presentation or speaker larger by sliding the vertical bar on your screen from left to right. And we're excited to be able to provide you with session materials. Those will be dropped into the chat and available on our website, hopefully within a week from today. And if the presenter gets disconnected, we will try to bring the webinar back in 5 minutes. In the event that we can't do so, we will record the session and put it up on our website. Finally, at the end of the session today, a survey will pop up. Please take the time to complete this survey. This will provide the presenter and Results Washington with real-time feedback. We are very fortunate to have Jessica Mobbs with us today. Jessica is the Strategy and Performance Consultant at the Department of Enterprise Services. Welcome, Jessica.
Oh, thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, thank you so much for that warm welcome. And I want to express my thanks to the Results Washington team for helping to support me getting this going and all the work they're doing behind the scenes to support the conference. This is awesome. So here we are in the afternoon of a rainy day here where I am. Before we get started, I would like to go ahead and tell you a little bit about myself. I am a Washington State native. Born and raised, and I love everything about the Pacific Northwest, from the beautiful great outdoors to the rich music history, and of course our sports teams. Go Hawks. I am also a mom. I have this little 6th grader who just started middle school this year, and I'm so in love with him, and he's wonderful. My little man, John. I am also a first-time dog mom. I did not get through the pandemic without getting a puppy. So as you can imagine, it's been a little bit of an adventure for me. His name is Frankenstein, and he is going to be 1 year old in February. Professionally, I've worked for the state of Washington for almost 15 years now. And while I've been working for the state, I've been continuously working to improve government and to make it better for Washington state taxpayers. To support that, I decided to go ahead and get my Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, and I've been doing everything related to continuous improvement ever since. All of this experience, including my personal and professional life, have led me to see how important mentoring is to building relationships and building organizations. So with having said that, let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. I will go ahead and tell you why mentorship programs are important, and then I will run through a case study of the Department of Enterprise Services mentorship program. And then I'll wrap it up by telling you tips and tricks for how you can develop your own mentorship program. Now, I'd love to know your all experience with mentorship programs. And since I can't raise hands, we'll do a poll today. So could you answer this question for me? What is your experience with mentorship programs? Maybe you've heard of them, but never participated in one. Maybe you've been a mentee, a mentor, perhaps both. And I'm sure there are some of you out there who have had the experience of running a program. So go ahead and answer that question, and I'll see what we have here in our audience. Give everybody just a second to answer. Let's see if that question answer pops up for us. Okay. Oh, good. I can see the results now. Oh, we have experience all across the board here, but it looks like over half of you have heard of them, but never had a chance to participate. That's so exciting. I think that everyone here today will find some little nugget of information that you can take back into your own workplaces. So with that, let's talk about mentorship programs. For today in this session, what I want you to know is that I'm going to be referring to a mentorship program as a structured one-to-one relationship within an organization. We will not be covering coaching, teaching, or ad hoc informal mentoring relationships that develop all on their own. All of these are important for developing a learning culture and for employee development, but they are not what we will be discussing today. So go ahead and keep in mind that we're talking about structured, formalized program within an organization. So when we talk about why do we even consider mentorship programs at all, there are three main buckets that I'm going to talk about with you today. They're employee engagement and retention, lean culture, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Let's start with employee engagement and retention. Gallup reports that only about 32% of US employees feel actively engaged in their workplaces. A mentorship program fosters engagement. It causes employees to feel that they are an integral part of a team, pushing them to be more productive and participatory at work. In fact, 95% of mentees surveyed reported that a mentorship program drives them to perform at their best. Now let's talk about how that happens. Mentorship programs provide access to learning and training that employees wouldn't normally have the opportunity to participate in without it. Most organizations have onboarding programs for new employees and offer training for new initiatives. And of course, there's always required annual training. But where do employees go when they want to learn more about other skills or what it's like in a leadership position? These courses aren't always readily available and are rarely offered to all employees. This kind of training is best delivered from people with real experience, and mentoring is a great way to access this. A mentee will feel valued in being presented with the opportunity to learn and can engage in subjects that they wouldn't normally have access to. Overall, employee engagement can skyrocket when the offer of knowledge is on the table. Secondly, mentorship programs break down barriers in communication. People feel more valued when they have a voice. Mentoring doesn't specifically promise that each employee will speak to top leaders on a regular basis, but it does offer the opportunity to make connections with people who have relevant skills and goals and who can make a real impact on a mentee's career. Breaking down these barriers can instill confidence in mentees and can lead to important conversations about their career path, how they feel about the organization, and even their worries, what's going on with them in their current position. Mentees may not have been able to share their voice in such a way prior to being in a mentorship program. This is a really great motivational factor. Next, mentorship programs give people a chance to prove themselves. Many people struggling with a lack of engagement in their workplaces have been waiting for an opportunity to prove what they can do, but they just haven't had a formal method in which to do it. Mentoring provides that opportunity, and it provides it without the constraints of a formalized training program. When you give the right people a chance to shine, individuals can re-engage with their passion for their work, their drive to succeed, and their overall commitment to an organization. And finally, it can improve working relationships. Just like the communication barriers that exist between departments, a typical hierarchy can create unseen barriers as well. You have employees who report to their direct supervisors, who report to their line managers, who report to their directors, and so on and so on. Disengagement can reach an all-time high when there is a lack of transparency. Employees can feel demoralized if they are not recognized for their part in the big picture. Mentoring offers a visible doorway into each level of an organization, and it gives mentees the chance to see how different people work, how they got into their current positions, and what they need to get there themselves. Connecting employees in different parts and levels of an organization can increase engagement and can improve relationships for everyone involved. Improving working relationships through mentoring is important for creating and sustaining the support system of people who will be there to help mentees climb the ladder in their career. Overall, mentorship programs can help with many aspects of employee engagement. Improving relationships, having shared values, offering new knowledge and learning opportunities are all crucial aspects to keeping employees engaged and ready to take the next step in their career. Now, let's talk about lean culture. We all know a lean culture is a learning culture. It's driven by customer focus and oriented towards continuous improvement. The four components of a lean culture are a customer-focused purpose, enterprise alignment, continuous improvement, and cultural enablers. Now, when I'm talking about mentorship programs, I want to focus in on two of these areas today: enterprise alignment and cultural enablers. So in order to achieve a shared goal, people must be moving in the same direction. This is true of any group of people, be it a sports team, an orchestra, a corporation, or a government agency. People need to know where the group is going, and every person needs to know what they need to do in order to get to the destination. A mentorship program helps to reinforce and spread the mission, vision, and values of an organization at all levels, from line staff all the way up to top leaders. As I mentioned earlier with engagement, employees will feel more empowered when they understand how their work contributes to the overall goals of an organization. Organizations can utilize the structure and format of a mentorship program to promote enterprise alignment. As far as cultural enablers go, culture can either enable or disable an organization's ability to achieve strategic objectives. Culture drives behavioral standards and expectations. What you want to achieve is a healthy culture where there are cohesive teams, effective leadership, and meaningful relationships. Without strong connections between people, the long-term results of any alignment or improvement efforts will be modest at best. When organizations focus their energy on cultural enablers, everything else just works better. Mentorship programs seek to develop and retain cultural enablers, and their successes just ripple throughout an organization. Bottom line, mentoring is key to develop and teach the thinking that promotes and spreads the principles of lean methodology. Now let's talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I recently read an article from the Association for Talent Development, and they noted that this time has been pushing people apart, whether it's due to social and physical distance or political and cultural views. Right now, human connection is more important than ever before. The pandemic has forced many people into stressful frontline work or left them struggling to adjust to working remotely 100% of the time. This has created adverse effects on employees' mental health and their engagement levels in the workplace. This is especially true for women, people of color, and other underrepresented groups. As workplaces practice more robust forms of distancing, underrepresented employees can acutely feel issues that might have already existed within the organization before all of this happened. Isolation, microaggressions, a lack of support, so on and so on. Unlike other tactics that companies have used unlike other tactics that companies have used to improve diversity, mentoring is actually proven to make a difference. Mentorship programs break down barriers so that all employees can learn and grow. You want to be sure that you communicate explicitly about promoting an inclusive mentorship program. Target your efforts towards staff who haven't historically been given an advantage like this in the workplace. When you tie this to your organization's mission and values, you're also showing staff at every level that you are committed to living out those values. The Harvard Business Review conducted a study recently where they reviewed why diversity programs fail. The typical approach is mandatory diversity training, job tests, or a grievance system. People are taught to respond correctly to a questionnaire, but they soon forget the right answers. The positive effects of diversity training have been proven to rarely last beyond a day or two, and several studies suggest that they actually can activate bias and spark some backlash. This can happen when there isn't a continued commitment to keeping the principles of the training front of mind for employees on a regular basis. Companies that have and organizations that have had consistently positive results when they offer voluntary developmental opportunities and encourage social accountability for change. When it comes to leadership diversity, white men tend to find mentors all on their own. Women and minorities often need help from a formal program. One reason for that is that white male executives don't feel comfortable reaching out informally to young women or minority men, yet they are eager to mentor assigned mentees. And can you guess, women and minorities are often the very first to sign up for programs like this. Mentoring programs also make companies' managerial levels significantly more diverse. On average, they boost representation of Black, Hispanic, and Asian American women and Hispanic and Asian American men anywhere from 9 to 24%. In industries where plenty of college-educated non-managers are eligible to move up, like in chemicals or electronics, mentoring programs can increase the ranks of white women and Black men by 10% or more. The key takeaway here is that you really can make progress on creating a more diverse and inclusive organization by implementing a formal mentorship program for your staff. Okay, so now I've gone through the 3 big reasons why mentorship programs would be excellent for your organization. I would like to know which of these was the most compelling for you from where you're sitting right now and why. We're going to open up the chat and you can go ahead and type your answers in there. I'd love to read through a few of your responses. Oh, DEI, yes, engagement. Oh goodness, yay, we're getting all kinds of different reasons. Oh, I'm seeing a lot of folks saying they want to tie the DEI with their agency, what they're doing. These are excellent. Yep, employee engagement and retention. Yay, so there was something in there for everyone, I think, because I'm seeing it all across the 3 different buckets. Well, thank you so much for responding. Engagement, growth, and encouragement. Yes. Okay, thank you so much. Now, let's go ahead and move ahead to talk about our Department of Enterprise Services DES mentorship program. Now, I want to acknowledge that a lot of state agencies have mentorship programs. So I want to say congratulations on all of that amazing work that's happening around the state. I just want to do a little case study for you here to see what we've been doing at DES. So at DES, the idea of a mentorship program has been in the making for quite some time. When our agency formed its Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council in 2020, a perfect opportunity arose for us to fully develop and implement this program. I was assigned to the subcommittee, the council subcommittee, the training and learning subcommittee. And it was there that we worked to have the program vetted and approved by the DES leadership team. I was named the mentorship program manager and began the process of designing what the program would look like in practice. Our first big accomplishment was to outline the objective of the program. Without a compelling objective statement, the program likely wouldn't have gained so much momentum right from the start. I'm going to have you go ahead and read that objective statement now. So go ahead, I just put it on the slide. So go ahead and read that statement. So what I'd like to point out is that in our objective statement, we were able to tap into each of those three buckets that I talked about earlier: engaging employees with continuous development, promoting a learning culture, and creating opportunities to increase DEI work in the agency. So this really took hold and was something that our leaders were 100% behind and ready to support for our staff. So we decided to run our first cohort for 6 months. Most mentorship programs will have a duration of 6 to 12 months. This gives the mentee and mentor pair time to develop their relationship and to begin making significant progress on the mentee's overall goals. At DES, we made a concerted effort to communicate this program throughout the agency. We used our internal communications channels to include our intranet, our weekly staff email updates, and existing meeting forums like our extended leadership team meetings. That's where we spread the message, get it out there, have supervisors passing it along to their staff. Once we began accepting applications, we began pairing folks together based on the interests of the mentees and the mentor's experience. We ended up having nearly 50 staff in our program, and that's very significant considering our agency has just under 800 employees. I held the kickoff for our program in July and then set the pairs out to develop their mutual goals. We have several forums and assessments, and I'll go through those with you now. At DES, we are building a culture around strengths-based leadership. Our leadership team members and a number of programs throughout the agency have already gone through the StrengthsFinder assessment. So in support of that effort, all the members of the mentorship program take the StrengthsFinder assessment prior to the beginning of the program officially kicking off. This helps to break the ice with new mentoring pairs when they first meet. And it also helps mentors better understand the ways in which a mentee will perform best. Next, we have the mentorship agreement form. This form outlines the basic principles of the program. It outlines both the mentors and the mentees' responsibilities to each other. And this is vital to creating a trusting relationship for the duration of the mentoring program. This is basically their contract to each other. Both the mentors and the mentees complete a Washington State Leadership Competency Self-Assessment. Its main purpose is for participants to weigh their knowledge of those skills and competencies before participating in the program. It's a tool that they can use to build their self-awareness in areas they may want to continue to grow in as a leader. It also helps us with understanding the growth between someone when they first come in and when they leave the program. because they fill it out as a post-assessment as well. So success in part is measured, but success of the program in part is measured on the results, the difference between the results. Mentoring plans are completed during a pair's first session together. This form outlines the 3 to 4 goals and the mentee would like to work toward during the program. These goals do not have to be entirely achieved within the 6 months, but the idea is that they are moving forward with purpose and using their time together most effectively. Finally, we have program evaluations. Since DES is an agency that embraces continuous improvement, it is vital that we get participant feedback throughout the program. We formally ask for feedback at the midpoint and then again at the end. We make program adjustments based on that feedback. And I'll tell you that we actually just had this happen. I sent out the mid-program evaluation just a couple of weeks ago, and I received a lot of feedback back from the cohort members saying that everything that's been happening in state government with the vaccine mandate and just all this that we were having to work through, especially during the month of October, took away from them being able to engage with each other as mentoring pairs. So they requested more time. And so we did it. I went ahead and extended the mentorship program for 3 additional months to give folks back some of that time that was sort of jumbled up with stuff that we couldn't control. So instead of ending in January, they will now be finishing this cohort in March. So yeah, taking the feedback and making it happen, PDCA right in time. So another question I'm often asked is, how much time does this take? You know, I have a full-time job, I'm trying to get all this stuff done. How much time do I need to spend doing this in a month? We required folks in our program to spend a minimum of 2 hours a month working together towards program goals. We also offer additional monthly training opportunities that are optional. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. If you're wondering, what do I do with this time? How do I spend it with my mentee mentor? How do we spend that time together? There's a lot of creative ways in which you can do that. I've listed some of them here. I love helping folks set up informational interviews, going to trainings together, reading leadership articles and talking about them, or getting a book and talking about parts of it that were very intriguing. Reviewing your resume, having a mentor review a mentee's resume is excellent use of the time during the program. And of course, whatever else helps the mentee reach the goals that they've outlined at the front end of the program. Now, I know a lot of you had some experience with mentoring and being a mentor and a mentee. Go ahead and in the chat, I'd love to share your knowledge. What other activities have you participated in when you've been involved in a mentorship program? Or when you've had a mentor, what have you done together? What's really worked well for you? Let's share some experience, and I'm gonna steal some of them, I think. Networking events, yes, yep. Interview prep, that is vital. That's such a good one, thank you. Oh, yeah, strategy sessions, short-term job shadowing. I like that a lot too. We have developmental job assignments that kind of do that same thing. Working on an improvement project together, that's fantastic. Yep, investigative report writing, yes. Whatever, yes, all those are so fantastic. Learning how to communicate together, communicating well with others, those are perfect. Thank you for sharing all these. I'm going to steal them and add them to my list. Okay, thank you so much. Let's go to the next thing. So ultimately, we know that mentorship programs are about our people. It's exciting and rewarding to watch people with potential take off and succeed. I've personally had the pleasure of mentoring 4 different young women in my career, and each one of them have gone on to bigger and better things. Our mentoring relationship seemed to work as a catalyst for them to build confidence and gain skills, but the magic had always been in them. I can see that happening at DES again. Here are 2 of our current cohort members. Dylan and Danelle, who are paired together. Dylan is the program coordinator on our fleet team, and Danelle is a continuous improvement analyst in the finance division. As you can see from both of their comments here, they are already both enjoying their time together. I want to also highlight that they both speak to the program's flexibility and built-in support as being key. It is vital that mentorship programs be molded to fit what everyone in the cohort needs. Flexibility really is key. Now, I'd like to share some common myths with you before we dive into the nuts and bolts of creating a mentorship program. I have heard a number of these throughout my career, and I'm sure that you have too. First of all, mentoring has no age requirements, and older people can benefit from being mentored by younger people. What's important here is relevant experience, not age. Now, you may think that mentoring only benefits mentees, but that is completely not true. Mentoring has a lot of benefits for mentors too, building up communication skills, leadership skills, increasing job fulfillment, and increasing the likelihood of promotion in the future. I personally have grown leaps and bounds by being a mentor. You learn so much about yourself during the process, and it's really energizing. Okay, so have you ever heard that mentoring is elitist? It's not. This is not about senior managers taking prodigies under their wing. Modern mentoring is fair and inclusive, especially when you set it up right from the start. So sometimes people think that you can either be a mentor or a mentee, but that is not true. In fact, 89% of people with a mentor end up going on to be a mentor themselves. I even have a couple of people in my program currently who are wearing both hats. They are a mentor and a mentee at the exact same time in the program. So it's definitely doable. So sometimes we think that a mentor needs to be a reflection of ourselves. And while familiarity is nice, the best learning happens when you're exposed to different ways of thinking. Looking outside your typical comfort zone is when exciting learning can happen. Okay, so how do we get our leaders on board? I have received this question so many times, so I want to just call it out right from the beginning. As I spoke about earlier, getting your leaders on board with the benefits of a mentoring program is really about having that message prepared and ready for them. Having these quick facts on hand can really help. Mentoring programs can increase retention and employee satisfaction. It can increase engagement, especially with underrepresented employees. It can drive productivity and employee satisfaction, and it can develop staff by pairing them with experienced employees. You can also tie your mentorship program to your organization's big initiatives. That is also a really effective way to gain support. Formalized mentorship programs can be used for succession planning and knowledge transfer from senior leaders to high potential employees. With the number of retirement eligible staff in Washington state government right now, this may be the most compelling reason that your leaders want to get on board with the mentorship program. And then, of course, there's skill development, employee development, and then supporting diversity and leadership. So how do we do this? How do we create our own program? The first thing you'll need to do when starting to develop your mentorship program is to think about what you're trying to accomplish with this program. You must outline a compelling purpose so that your leadership teams and staff will buy into the need. Take the time to do an analysis of what your organization needs and wrap that into your purpose statement. Know how you'll measure the success of your program and be clear about that up front. Next, you'll need to outline the actual functional parts of a program. How long will you run your cohort for? How many staff will you accept as mentees? How will you determine who is accepted and who is not? It's a good idea to have minimum criteria that the staff must pass in order to be approved to be in the mentorship program. Some examples of that are to be in good standing, having no disciplinary issues or ongoing HR problems. And then, of course, you'll want supervisor approval for a staff person to be in a program like this. And then you'll want to think about how much time do you want to require that they spend working on the program each month? What kind of documentation will you need to collect to show program results? There are so many logistical questions to tackle, and you must be thoughtful about how you answer these questions. Mold the program to fit your organization, not the other way around. Once you outline the requirements and the process, communicate that clearly and concisely. I have a mantra that I say all the time: go slow to go fast. Take the time to develop it solidly before you get rolling. Answer all these questions, outline it, make sure it makes sense, and then you'll be able to move quickly once you get going. Then you'll need to select your program participants. You have already outlined the basic qualifications for mentees in your previous step, and now it'll be time to decide who will you allow in and who are you going to deny. To be honest, in any mentorship program that I've ever been a part of, we've never had to deny a mentee's application unless they didn't meet the program requirements, the basic requirements. I imagine the only time that you would need to deny an applicant is if you just had too many people applying for the size of the group that you wanted to have, or perhaps you don't have a mentor with the appropriate skills to fit someone's goals that they've stated at the beginning. Speaking of mentors, the next step in the process is to match mentors to mentees. As part of the recruitment process, you can advertise for mentors to apply to the program, or you can recruit them once you see the mentee pool. You could also do a blend of both if needed. The way you choose to do that is completely up to you. The real magic happens when you pair the right two people together and they just click. It's important to have a team of people to help you match mentors with mentees. You'll need people who are really familiar with the leaders throughout your organization so that you can put good pairs together. And finally, you'll want to provide training to the program members. Generally, mentors appreciate a targeted training session on how to be a good mentor. They like to hear about the different ways other leaders are engaging with their mentees. And I find that they also appreciate that added networking time, especially with folks that they don't get to interact with all that frequently on a regular basis. You'll also want to add in leadership development training opportunities for everyone in the cohort to attend on a voluntary basis. As I mentioned with the DES mentorship program, we offer program trainings on topics such as DEI, change management, problem solving, public speaking, anything that really speaks to the group. You could even ask the group, what would you like to learn about? And then offer that, getting the voice of the customer in there and being responsive in that way. All of this helps to reinforce the fact that you're building a learning culture for the participants. Be sure to call on subject matter experts from across your organization to guest host these trainings. Or you could even ask program participants if they would like to lead a training session on something that they're very interested in or passionate about. That's a great way to push folks out of their comfort zone a little bit and give them time to practice what they've been learning during the program. It's really fun to watch a mentee who's very nervous get up and teach on something that they're excited about and then watch them knock it out of the park. It's a really great confidence booster. So some final helpful tips from me. I like to send members of the mentorship program resources that I find interesting, helpful, or thought-provoking, articles that speak to leadership behaviors or DEI related content, TED Talks that address leadership topics, anything that I think will get people thinking and learning and interested. I've also extended invitations to free webinars that I have access to or leader speaking events that I have been invited to attend. Giving mentors and mentees access like this is an added perk of being in the program. Just be sure you don't send too many emails, because we all know how things get lost in the sea of email boxes. Another helpful tip is to be prepared with a contingency plan if one of your program's participants leaves. This is especially difficult when a mentor takes another job outside of your agency. Think about how you'd like to handle those types of situations in advance. Perhaps you have some mentors identified as backups, or a few people you know you can reach out to in a pinch. In a 6 to 12-month program, the likelihood of that happening is high, and you just want to be prepared for when it happens. And finally, as the coordinator of a mentorship program, you want to be as available as you can to help the participants navigate their new relationship. Mentors may need creative ideas on how to engage with their mentees, and mentees may need guidance on how best to communicate with their mentor. Knowing that they have your support can alleviate some of that nervousness that comes when they embark on this new adventure. And last but not least, definitely not least, be flexible and have fun. Mentorship programs are such an asset to an organization, and the best part is watching a mentee and mentor learn and grow and shine. Well, thank you so much. I think we have time for some questions now.
You bet. So we've got some great questions here for you. The first one, John Miles would like to know, would you consider presenting the information to business resource groups?
This information?
Yeah.
I 100%, yes, I would. And in fact, when we were starting I know that the ICSCW is not a business resource group, but they are a group that supports state employed women. I spoke with their chair when I was getting ready to develop our mentorship program at DES, and I would 100% love to talk about this with any of the BRGs. That would be fantastic. Yeah.
Awesome. So they can just reach out to you, I'm assuming.
Yes, you can email me. Here's all my information right there. There's my list line. That's how you can reach me.
Great. And then Beth Christian's asking, so in Washington, do you have mentors and mentees in the same department or across departments? Which would you recommend?
Okay, that is a fantastic question. And I'm going to give that answer no one likes. It depends. Okay, it really does depend. So whatever the mentee needs, whatever they outline, usually when you accept an application, you'll ask them, what are you hoping to learn by being in this program? And they'll outline some notes. And that's what you're going to use to help pair them with an appropriate mentor. So for example, we had in our program, someone working in our buildings and grounds crew, right? They were interested in learning more about what happens in the communications department. They want to totally change their career. So in that instance, it made sense for us to team them up with someone who was working in that division or had experience working with the communications team. However, there was another mentee applicant who said, I want to learn more about what I'm doing here in Fleet. I want to become a leader in this division. And so we paired them up with their up leader, right? So it just depends really on what the mentee wants to achieve. I don't recommend ever pairing a mentee with their direct supervisor as a mentor. You want to get away from that. But other than that, it's a wide open table.
Thank you. We've got another question. I work in a small-ish agency under 200 FTEs. Do you think someone could be a mentorship coordinator and also do another job within an agency?
Yes. And I know that because I do that. The mentorship program at DES is not my full-time job. It is only a little small part of my job. So yes, I actually don't think that many state agencies, maybe none, have a dedicated mentorship person where that's their full job. I mean, wouldn't that be fantastic? But unfortunately, we don't have unlimited resources. So usually it is tacked on with someone's other work. But honestly, once you get that front end planning part done, the program generally runs itself, and it's not as overwhelming as you might think when you are just embarking on it.
Great. The next question, do you have a program that you use, excuse me, for tracking mentors and mentees and keeping track of people's strengths within your organization? How do you find the talent of the mentors?
Okay, so I don't have any fancy programs. I'm an Excel person, and I've got lots of charts and all that going on. I do chart all of our agency's strengths by team. So I have all of those, and that is part of my role too. It just happens to be that that's part of my role. So I do know all of the leadership team's strengths and most of the I would say probably 70% of the agency's strengths now at this point. So that's easy for me to pull and check out. As far as there are programs that can run mentorship programs and help you with the pairing and all that, but I'm going to be honest, and that's way out of my knowledge and expertise. I've never had access to those types of resources before. So I have my Excel spreadsheet where I keep track of mentors, and I match them with their mentees, and I keep tabs and checklists about who's sent in their evaluations and their goals. And yeah, it's not very fancy from my end. So it doesn't have to be fancy as long as it's effective.
Awesome. This one, there's a couple questions along the same lines. So any suggestions about getting leadership on board when or if they're not maybe so supportive of their people taking work time to participate in such a program, even after you point out the benefits like retention?
That's tough. And I think you have to not give up on it too. Like keep bringing it up and keep bringing it forward. I think if you can show the statistics, the retention is a really good one. I think right now, and I mentioned it earlier, that succession planning and knowledge transfer is a huge, huge thing that's happening right now. The silver tsunami, or whatever they're calling that, it's real and it's happening right now. And we have to get away in order to build up our emerging leaders as quickly as possible. We want to build them up in our own organizations before they leave to find other opportunities. So I don't think of it as taking away from work time. It's actually an investment in the future of the agency. Don't give up on it. Sometimes it takes a couple of years of saying this message over and over before it takes hold, and then it can run. So just keep being persistent and don't give up. Put together a really great one-pager of all amazing reasons why a mentorship program would be good for you, your employees, the agency, and your customers, right? Remember this, we're doing this work to help our customers. We want to have the best workforce so that we can provide the best value to Washingtonians. So put it all together and make a really pretty package, and then don't stop until they say yes.
How do you relieve anxiety when a potential mentee maybe fears retribution or embarrassment for asking for help, or worries about stigma for using a mentor program when seeking a promotion?
Okay, so if a mentorship program is approved and supported by a leadership team, which means it's approved and supported by the agency, I think that I can hopefully think you can take off the table that being in the program is going to cause any kind of retribution. That should just be, okay, this is what we're doing. That's exciting. I think that was hitting with me that when you're in a pair together, a mentor and a mentee, ultimate confidentiality must be maintained. And so whatever kind of issues that are coming up between, and this is why you don't want it to be their direct supervisor, you really want that confidential, trusting relationship where a mentee can have a confidant, someone in a position to help them grow and learn and figure out how to navigate their career. It needs to be confidential. I don't even know the ins and outs of what's happening with the cohort members. I just know how they feel about the program itself, right? So making sure that you reiterate to them that it's a safe space even if a mentee were to come to me and have a problem like with a mentor, that's also safe space. That's not something that's shared. So you have to build that trust right away, build a trust, make sure, everyone knows this is confidential and it's for the benefit of all of us as an organization.
Great. We've got a question. Can you give a concrete example of how you define the success of the program?
Oh, concrete example. I like the anecdotal ones better. No, but yes, you need to have concrete ones. I think it's always tricky because people want to tie promotions to the success of a mentorship program. I think that's not the best measure of the success of a program. So I would steer away from that as much as possible, because just because a person doesn't promote doesn't mean that they haven't increased their value to an organization by being in a mentorship program. Perhaps they're doing their job more effectively now. And how awesome is that, right? So I would steer clear of using promotion rates. Sure, if you've got some, you could probably tack it on as something kind of cool, but don't use that as an evaluative tool for your program. I think asking for participatory feedback is really great. How do the participants feel? Do they feel like they've learned and grown? How do you see them contributing differently? I'm using the pre and post assessments from the Washington State Leadership Competency Self-Assessment to determine that we are growing leaders. They're seeing a difference in the way they show up every day, and that's in direct relation to their being in this program and being exposed to those competencies. So that's a concrete one that we're going to use, along with the evaluations that they provide to us too. So, and I think when you look towards the next iteration, if you've got 50 more people applying for your program, you can call that a success too,
Yeah. So we had a couple questions around the mentor mentees. So do you have thoughts on how to pair multiple mentors and mentees, or is it just one mentor, one mentee? And do you let them like self-select, or do you pair for them? What are your thoughts around that?
Okay, so because of workload issues and because we want the relationship to be as fully developed as possible, we limit our mentors to only one mentee at a time. It's really probably all they can handle given the big jobs that they already have. We're tasking folks in leadership positions to take on a mentee. So we only do one-to-one, that's it. I suppose if someone had the bandwidth and the eagerness to go out and do it, you could totally set it up. So you just have to evaluate that on your own. We don't do that, but it's not out of the question. And then as far as self-selecting, we did offer on the application, if someone wanted a certain person as their mentor, they wrote it down, and we tried our best to make that happen. So that was an option. But if they didn't know who would be a good mentor for them, they left it blank, and we went out and found that person for them based on what they outlined as their goals. And then, we had a team of, my entire strategy and performance team helped to put the pairs together. And it was important because each one of us has a relationship with each of the divisions. So we knew people that would be a good fit for each person. A mentor that's going to challenge a mentee in just the right way, and vice versa. So there's not a plug and play sort of, it's really an art to putting people together, and know that sometimes it may not work out, and that's okay. A pair that gets together and for some reason they don't feel it, just try again. Say, okay, thank you so much for volunteering to be a mentor. I'm going to put you on a list for next time, and then try to find a different mentor for that mentee.
Great. Do mentors always have to be in a leadership position?
Well, I like to think that we're a leader from wherever we sit within an organization. I think Sharice already knows I was going to say that. I think that we're all in a leadership position where we sit. The title does not necessarily determine that one. So to answer your question, no, No. Who are the leader? Who is the person that's really going to challenge this mentee to reach their goals? Do they have the right skills and abilities to push that person to get to the next level? It can be someone at their same level on an org chart. It doesn't have to be someone up higher on an org chart. That stuff is sort of arbitrary when you're trying to help someone grow in their skills and abilities. So, yeah.
Awesome. Then we've got a couple questions around applications. So the first one is, how did you come up with your questions, or could you share your questions with us so that we can post them online for folks?
So it was a really simple application, and we just did it through SurveyMonkey, I think. Email went out with a link to the SurveyMonkey. The mentees would just say their name. What do you hope to achieve out of this program? 3 goals, 3 things you want to achieve out of this program. And those were going to be what we use to pair them with an appropriate mentor. We need to know what they want to learn. And then, why they wanted to be in the program at all. And then, boop, that went off to their supervisor who approved it. And then that came to me. So that was as simple as the process went. I knew that it was approved through the supervisor because the email came from them to me. So it was a very simple process. It doesn't have to be anything too complicated. But yeah, SurveyMonkey, easy peasy. Set up an internal website, however you want to do it.
Great. Thank you so much, Jessica. We had so many more questions come in. This was really informative for folks, and I think that they got a lot out of it. So thank you very much for a wonderful session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for all of you for attending today. There's more of the conference to come. We've still got another day left. So visit our website and revisit some sessions or watch session that you missed, download materials. In a second, there will be a survey that pops up, and please take a moment to complete that. We really appreciate your feedback, and thank you for attending today. Have a wonderful day.